When your old life keeps on operating, but you're no longer inside it, it can feel like you've disappeared from your own timeline. But here's what most people miss. That disconnect is the first sign that your new self has already moved in. There is an uncanny moment in the healing journey where one day you simply wake up, and it's not totally out of the blue. You'll notice as you're leading up to it, the feeling of differentiating from a family ecosystem or from your environment, where you notice you're not really resonating with certain things anymore or certain people. Relationships fall away, certain dynamics don't work the same way that they used to, and all of a sudden you realize that you're in your old life, but you're not of it. There's a lightness that suddenly comes, a detachedness, a feeling of, wow, I can be here and I'm free. And all of a sudden you have choice in dynamics where reactivity was the only language you spoke. Suddenly you notice yourself in dynamics and conversations in environments where in the past you may have responded to defend your authenticity or defend your viewpoint, or whatever your response may have been more reactive or more charged. Suddenly you just see the other person, you see the dynamics, you see the whole ecosystem for what it is, and you're like, I know what I would say. I know what the previous version of me would have said in that moment. And you just kind of watch the thought pass, and you're like, it's just a cloud in the sky, like in Vipassana when we think about just observing our thoughts. Suddenly you have that coherence, that control. And it's not control in the sense of resistance, it's that you're no longer in defense. It starts from that inner shift in consciousness. You may have been very aware of dynamics before. I certainly have been aware of dynamics for a long time. But I still had a charge, like I had hooks in the system. Like there was a part of me that still needed something to be mirrored, to be validated, something. All of a sudden the hooks are gone. Now that doesn't mean I'm not going to get activated. That doesn't mean I don't have boundaries or emotions as a human being. There are going to be moments where I say, this is what I need, this is not acceptable to me, and so on and so forth. But the energetic signature of a sovereign boundary versus a hooked boundary, vastly different. The triggers go quiet not because the world's changed or because anyone else is doing anything different, but because your body has. This is a nervous system shift. When we talk about identity shifts, we are talking about nervous system shifts. There's no more somatic impulse to collapse or fawn. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't care on a somatic level if someone misunderstands you, because you have metabolized the reality that other people's perceptions are out of your control. And not only that, but if you are to influence someone's perception, it's not going to come from a place of reactivity. It's not going to come from a place of matching their frequency, their dysregulation. It's going to come from your coherence. So that alone is going to stop you from getting pulled into other people's emotional weather. If there are any impulses, they're like really gentle. They're like little, like teeny little flicks, whereas before they were like, go, you know? Now it's like, you could say that. You could say. And you're like, eh. It's got this like, vibe to it. You're like, why would I? Why would I say that? What part of me is that coming from? And you realize that it's coming from the parts of you, the protective, controlling, survival parts of you that you're no longer identified with. They're no longer leading the show because you've reached safety inside of yourself enough that they finally can bow out and say, we're here when you actually need us. Because we've realized we're no longer reliving the trauma anymore. We're safe. And it starts there, long before anything else starts to shift. And not only that, but things will start to shift in chaotic ways. You may notice that other people feel very destabilized by your embodiment because it does expose people. I noticed throughout my healing journey thus far, before reaching this state of embodiment, where I was aware of things and I loved talking about things, it's less threatening to people who are not interested in any of this at all, who are unconscious and who are avoiding doing the deeper work on themselves. Because They might say, well, I don't know what she's talking about. I'm not really into what she's doing, but she's just doing her thing. And that's fine. She's just talking the talk, but she still mirrors me. She still finds identity in the role. She doesn't expose me with how she shows up in relation to me. But when you reach full embodiment, it rewrites everything. It's when spirituality moves from theory into practice. If you're still playing the role, you can do whatever you want. Talk about whatever you want. No one's gonna be threatened. You still show up as the sister they know, the daughter they know. You still are showing up as that. You are that person still. So this is when you actually become a different person. You are not that person anymore. You're not just talking about spirituality anymore and all these beautiful universal truths about life. You are living them. So what does that do to everyone around you? It disrupts them. It disrupts the system. It disrupts the patterns. You also start to be much more selective about who you spend your time with, how you spend your time. And that also lands. That also is a way that shows people you are not the same. You start treating your energy like it's expensive, because it is. And people who do not treat their energy that way, who do not approach life that way, well, they're gonna be like, who does she think she is? Or people who felt entitled to your energy or things that you used to offer, help or insight or guidance, whatever. People are going to notice the shift, and it is going to destabilize them. And it is going to expose the areas they haven't integrated in themselves. So some people are going to just clearly be uncomfortable. Some people are going to withdraw. I have quite a few people in my life who just simply stopped supporting my YouTube channel, if they ever even did, who don't check in with me anymore, who don't, because the dynamic was fully rewritten, which completely reorganizes power dynamics. It completely reorganizes just the entire relational contract. When people do project, or they minimize, or they withdraw, which they're going to do, stay so connected to the part of you that notices people's responses without personalizing it. Because that's the self. That's the soul. That's the witness. That's pure consciousness. That is your truth, and that is the guiding light in your life that is going to keep you so unhooked from everyone else's baggage and projections. This is not conflict. This is recalibration. This is growth. This is transformation. And yeah, it is destabilizing to stagnant environments. It's simply refusing to continue to participate in implicit contracts that you never consciously agreed to, that no one consciously agreed to, but that people would rather stay asleep inside of than to wake up from. You are actually showing up fully in this new embodied way, in this new sovereign way. You're shifted, all your dynamics have pretty much shifted. Maybe they haven't fully matched you or overcome their stuff or whatever it is for whoever it is, because there's going to be different dynamics, of course, that respond differently to your sovereignty and to your transformation. But for the most part, like, you are, if not entirely, you are this new version of you. But you're still, like me, maybe in your parents' basement, or still not making income from YouTube, or whatever the situation is for you. There's still things that you're very much like inside your old life, but you're as this new version of you. And it feels like forever. It feels like nothing's happening, and you're like, how long has it been? This is the reality lag. The physical world will always lag behind the energetic dimension of reality. It's just how it works, unfortunately. I didn't make the rules. But it's actually a good thing, because it requires you to become so solid and stable in your own field, in your new frequency, and it requires you to really learn how to trust your inner wisdom. And that's actually beautiful, because if you can establish that relationship with yourself, the world can constantly change, shit can hit the fan, and of course, you're an animal, your nervous system is going to flare up when things, regardless, it's a constant process, of course, that we have to come back to. But underneath it all, that creates the nervous system infrastructure of someone who can do incredible things in the world, who believes in themselves. And I mean in a somatic level, not just a mental, believe in yourself kind of old paradigm way. I mean like the kind of person who can handle shit and build worlds. Because if you have that inner trust, literally nothing else matters. All that said, this is a kind of uncomfortable phase, to put it lightly. There's probably not going to be a lot of deep confusion. I did not feel like I'm on the wrong path at any point in this phase of the process for me. So it was more just frustration with like, when is this going to pick up? Like, when is this going to happen? What the heck is taking so long? Not in a, impatient sort of like entitled way, but just in a sort of like, what is the purpose of this phase? Because there's meaning here. So how can I use this phase? And that's where I come to that conclusion. Okay, this is how I build a stronger relationship with my inner voice. This is also how I double down on the routines and systems in my life that help me do so. So when things get quiet and uncertain out there, I build certainty within. It's not just an abstract thing to say build a relationship with yourself. You have to build the systems to do it. So that means, what can you do in your life, if you're not already doing it, that is going to build that relationship more and more with you and yourself? How can you learn, like practice using your intuition and leaning into that part of you, or observing life or situations from that part of you, or just simply connecting to your body in the present moment? To me, those are all connected. Most of us connect with that part of ourselves by being present and being embodied or connected to our body. So things like yoga, Pilates, running, challenging ourselves in a physical way is like the number one thing, in my opinion. When you use this phase to double down on systems like fitness, diet, skincare, creativity, all these different facets of your life that you want to nourish and grow, you are actually facilitating or jump-starting that transformation on a physical level. So the shift goes from inside you energetically, you behaviorally, like I said, becoming more aware of dynamics, becoming more aware of how you eat or how you show up or structure your day. Then it's going to manifest physically. You start to see the results of that in a physical way. Of course, out on top of that, you will notice shifts happening, like I said, but they're not going to be the shifts that match you yet. It's going to be destabilization outside of yourself, because you are essentially dismantling systems, or rather exposing systems, just by simply unhooking from it. Here are some common embodied sovereign behaviors that you might notice in yourself in this phase. You leave events early that in the past, maybe you were the first person there and the last person to leave. You stop attending things that you don't want to go to. You don't collapse or mask when people look at you and expect you to laugh with them at something you just don't find funny. You simply don't laugh. You say what you actually feel or what you actually think, instead of matching them to make them feel better. These tiny choices might not seem like much in the moment, but they are massive. This is you replacing reactivity and mirroring and appeasement and people-pleasing and survival with sovereignty and authenticity. This is a nervous system triumph. This is liberation. And this is a big deal. Life doesn't wait for your environment to be ready. Your identity will always update first, and the world simply follows on delay. Which parts of you are already living in the next chapter, and which parts are still catching up? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any more content like this. Thank you for being here. I will talk to you soon.